Afternoon. How are you? You all right?
Okay, good afternoon. We're going to start with Ian at Sky Sports News.
Frank, hello.
Hi.
What can you tell us about Olivier Giroud and him joining Inter Milan?
I said it after our last game. With Ollie, the situation is, if it's right for everybody, and first and foremost that's us, the club, because he's under contract, then we'll look at whether he can leave the club. I think he's been a great professional here, trained brilliantly through this season, even without many opportunities. So I hold him in a lot of high regard for that and respect, but I still have to make a decision for the football club, and nothing's done yet.
How close do you sense it might be? How imminent might something be?
Well, listen, I think everyone's talking about it, so I'm not going to beat around the bush. You know, that he's, I think his agent has spoken to the club, but until we decide that it's the right thing, then of course it's not done.
Is it a question of getting someone in before he can leave?
Not necessarily.
On getting someone in, is Moussa Dembele at Lyon someone you're looking at? Someone the club is looking at?
He's a player I know, and a player that the club know. But I'm surprised to see his name pop up so regularly when it's not popping up in my conversations so regularly, to be brutally honest. And there's quite a few players in the last week that I could say the same about. So he's a player I respect and I know he's another team's player. Of course, we're looking to strengthen, and I've spoken about strengthening in areas high areas of goal scorers, because it's where we've been found probably pretty short in the home games recently, particularly. The idea of people being clinical, and they're hard to find, and I'll only want to go that way if we know we're improving the squad that we have already, because at the minute we're still working very hard on the training ground and in game to try and get that right ourselves.
With Moussa Dembele then, is that a no?
I don't want to go any cut and dried on anybody, but yeah, as I said to you, it's not one that we're openly talking about, and if it's a decision, I will be a big part of that decision.
Listen, is anything close?
No. Not at the moment, but when I say that, I mean what is close is January, and I've said before that if it's right, then we will look at it. So, but we're not imminent. You're not going to have any big news today or tomorrow. Keep going if you want.
Does the news that Harry Kane is going to be out for some time, April we hear, does that, and with Spurs then presumably being in the market, does that make it harder to attract a striker? Harder to get that?
I don't think so. I don't know what their planning is, and they don't know what ours is. I did say that, you know, in terms of January, we all know it's fairly limited. Most teams with strikers who might be that clubs would want might not want to leave in January. They're very difficult to get. So I don't need to sort of speak about Tottenham's business in that sense. I don't sort of concentrate on that. I concentrate on what we can do better for us.
Well, we don't know whether Harry Kane is going to be okay for the summer. If he's not, could Tammy step up? Could Tammy lead the line? Tammy Abraham lead the line for England at the Euros?
Well, first of all, on Harry Kane, it's not nice, even though it's a competitor in the league, to hear of an injury to a player like him, because he's such a great professional. So when you put your England cap on, you obviously think about that. I think where Tammy's got himself by getting himself into regular squads of late, with his goal scoring that he's done for us, he's given himself a chance. So the work is all there to be done. A lot can change in football in that sort of period of a time. There are competitors that are all vying for those places up front. So it just depends on what Tammy does and what the squad is come the Euros.
But as his club manager, do you think he has what it takes?
I'm delighted with him. I never want to step on Gareth's toes. He has his squad to pick. He has different options available and sees things probably slightly different to what I do. I'm delighted with him, have been all season, delighted with his progression, delighted that he got in the England squad. So for me, yeah, I think he's a player that can play at the very highest level, but he's still in those early stages. This is the first period of time in the Premier League where he's scoring goals. I expect a lot more of that from him, and I think hopefully the progression goes one way. And what happens with England is down to himself and obviously Gareth or the England manager's choices.
Last couple, please, Ian.
How do things stand with your squad for the weekend? And just update us on Ruben Loftus-Cheek as well.
Ruben is still out, and he's out for a while. He's hopefully going to start getting involved in a bit of football, not just individual football, but collective football, and maybe with the academy to help him get his eye in slightly in terms of playing, because he's at that stage now. But that's not on the horizon short term. Christian Pulisic's out. He'll be out for a few weeks. He was injured in training last Saturday, the day before Nottingham Forest, and. It's an injury in the adductor, so he's got a tendon injury. So disappointing for us, and we'll have to see how quickly he recovers, because it's quite a nasty injury. He was in pain when it happened.
Nobody else.
Marcos Alonso is recovering. He sort of trained today, but he won't be ready for tomorrow.
And how is Tony Rudiger? I mean, this week we had the news that from Tottenham and from the police that. There was no evidence that they could find of racist abuse in the match against Spurs. How has he taken that?
Well, Tony's been in very good form and spirits this week in training. He knows that I'm there for him. I spoke to him after the incident. He knows that I'm there for him, support for him. He can knock on my door. I'm there to all my players, and Tony knows that specifically because of what happened. As far as I see it, he's okay. If he needs me, I'm here, and we move on. It's been investigated, and that's that. There's nothing for us to say anymore. And I support all my players in these situations.
Okay. And a home match this weekend. I mean, it's been a while since Chelsea won at home in the Premier League. You beat Nottingham Forest. Do you sense there's still a bit of discomfort playing at Stamford Bridge? Well,
when you analyse the 3 games that we've lost, particularly in West Ham, Bournemouth and Southampton, and they always give you a bad feeling losing at home in front of your home fans. When you analyse it, which is my job and our job as staff, you see that we've created 50 chances in 3 games and scored no goals. And now if that's going to be the case, and you're playing in the Premier League and you let teams stay in the game and you allow a bit of a nervous feeling and they all have quality to hurt you. I think Southampton we didn't play that well, and that was that. Credit to them on the day. But we need to take our chances in home games. And I need to be pretty firm about that, because it's easy to say it's unlucky, whatever, and ball doesn't drop to us, crossing the box, gets cleared away, shot within the box that goes off target. We have to get that right, and we work on that in training. But there's an element of it that is instinct, and we need to find that killer instinct in front of goal, because in terms of play, we're controlling big parts of games, but we're allowing teams to stay in them.
Loose. Is it a mental thing? Because I thought you should have beaten West Ham, should have beaten Bournemouth, should have beaten Southampton on paper before the game. Is it a mental thing that your team go into the game thinking this is going to be easier than a Liverpool or a Man United or a Man City, and they think all they've got to do is turn up to win?
No, definitely not. If anything, Moose, I think it's the opposite. There might be a small tension about it, because we're missing those chances. We're getting in there, and our quality in the final third, we get into the final third a lot. It's pretty much as any team in the country, maybe barring Liverpool, but we're in and around the group just below that. But we're not converting chances at home. I know all the stats, I won't bore you with them, but I know them. And I don't like stats as such, but when they match what I'm seeing, then I think they have more weight. So it's not, we're getting there, we are trying, but we need to be more clinical. A bit of that is on the training ground, you can work on that, but to work here and recreate in front of the 40,000 when I'm now saying we must be finishing and getting more goals at home is what trying to get into striving to be at the top, towards the top of the Premier League is all about.
And Burnley are a very physical defence, so in terms of trying to create that tomorrow, I guess they're not ideal opposition, and they've got a good record at the Bridge recently. For
sure, yeah, they have a good record at the Bridge. Very aware of that. They have a very organised style of play, very organised, very well coached, and they can certainly hurt you in big parts of their game in terms of set pieces, balls into your box, and quality players that can finish in and around the box. So it's almost like not the worst game we could play for all the things I've just said, but you understand that this could be a team that's a threat to us. So there's your challenge.
Just one more. How aware are you of the focus during games on managers on the touchline? Some jump up and down all the time. Some you're a kind of halfway house. You get up and encourage your team, but sometimes you sit down and just let them get on with it. And how much can managers during games actually interact and change things for their team, influence how they're doing?
I think it's important that you are real and as you feel you should be. It might sound stupid or a simple thing to say, but I do what feels right for me on the time. And yeah, you can have an influence. It's not easy at terms. Of course, if you make a change in game, you can have influences on the game. But also, I think moments you have before the game, moments at half time, and on the sidelines, I think people do follow. The crowd almost can follow a little bit. You see the top managers, Jurgen Klopp and Guardiola, Antonio Conte, when he was here and we won the league, sometimes can lead the crowd a bit. So I think you can certainly make a difference.
Johnny?
Are you expecting a similar approach from Burnley tomorrow that we saw from Bournemouth and Southampton? Can you see a similar pattern? Are clubs coming now to play you of that level and seeing how others have done it against you?
It's hard to absolutely second guess what Sean Dyche is thinking and how they're set up, but I expect that they'll have looked at those games because that's what we do, and I think they're generally a very organised outfit who travel well, get good results away from home because they are organised and because they're clinical in big parts of their game and what they do well. So yeah, I expect that to a degree.
And just one question on the winter break. Do you think it's coming should it come now basically, or is February too late? Would you actually rather have it now?
I haven't really considered it that much. I mean, I think I think that might be to overthink it to sort of move. I understand what you mean, but I think if for a team like us, and this is Champions League teams, but that comes just after the break, so if that gives you a nice breathing spot for going into those games, and that might be quite helpful for the Premier League teams that are in European competition, but I don't think it would make a great deal of difference.
Hi Frank, it might be because Andreas is at the team at the moment, but he's been linked to the move away to AC Milan. I was just wondering if that's something you could rule out in this transfer window.
Yes.
Yeah,
I can rule it out. I like Andreas as a player. I've always liked him. I used to train with him, saw the talent coming through. What I want Andreas to be is the best that he can be, and I think when you see him and you see the height, the athleticism, and the quality on the ball, particularly, and choice of pass, then I want him to be all the things that I think he can be, and I want to work towards that, and he knows that. So I see that.
What do you want to work with him on, to get into that next level? Because he seems to have been like one of the shining talents from this academy for years.
Yeah, and the reality is we have, competition at centre back here, so they're not always easy conversations for me because I have to choose on what I see, and generally most weeks 2 of them won't be that happy, one particularly not happy. But no, as with all the players, I want to work on parts of the game that I think they can improve. And as I said, I think with Andreas, you can watch him. Aston Villa, he was immense. It was great to watch. Had everything in the centre back, and then sometimes I think if we are coming up against teams that are physical and ask a question, and Andreas really has to stand up to that. I don't mind saying that because I think he knows it and needs to know that. So, but what I will say is I think those little bits in his game can really make him the fantastic centre half that I feel he can be. And he is certainly a player that gets slightly misjudged on age. I think he's been around a long time and went on loan at a young age and did particularly well, and people think that he's probably older than what he is. He's still relatively young, so that's absolutely on his side as well.
Okay, last two, Vincent.
Can we go back to Pulisic for a second and the injury, just because he was a player that was in a rich vein of form, somebody that you brought through into the squad and showed a lot of faith in, and then as a manager, of course, that upsets a rhythm in your team. Is that a more damaging miss than other players potentially going out?
Well, it is a damaging miss because he's a good player and we need competition in wide areas. And as you say, he was in good form for a period. And before Christmas, he was reporting a bit of tiredness. I was relying on him a lot in those games. And that's why he came out of the team. And I was worried about injury. And that's not just my own opinion. That's when I speak with sports science and medical around that. And I have to make judgments on that, which I made over Christmas. And that's why I was worried that this injury may come. I'm not a mind reader or a psychic, but it came. And it's disappointing, because he's a very talented player who can make things happen. And when you're talking about home games where you want to score, he's one of those. But we also have other options in those areas, and it's time for other players to stand up for sure.
And just to clarify, when you say that you were worried about injury, what is it that you can do when you see those things potentially on the horizon? Well,
you slightly adapt around training or actual game. But Christmas was a very busy period for us, so you try and rotate slightly in those periods. And I think also with Christian, as I said earlier in the season, when you come at a young age to this league, which is very, very demanding, he played a lot of games on the trot. It's my job is to see that inside and see if I have to adapt slightly to sort of try and guard against these things. But unfortunately, you can never absolutely guard against.
Okay, and last question stays from our young reporter, Alfie.
Hi Frank, I'm Alfie from Junior Blues. What's your favourite question to be asked of a press conference? Is it tactical or...?
Good question. It's a really good question because I get asked all sorts of questions here, and some of them make me laugh. Some of them I have to give. It's difficult to give an answer because these people are not always. Not say the nicest, they're very nice people, I know that. Sometimes they want me to say something that I might not want to say. So the answer to your question is tactical, because I like it when a journalist who is really interested in the game asks me a question that is probing, but in a tactical way, and about my team or the opposition that we're coming up against. I like to do that because it feels like real, and it feels like what I do outside every day and what I'm striving to do, and then I like to have those discussions. So it's those are the interesting ones.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alfie. Thank you.
Cameras off, please.